Hey, and welcome back to the podcast. We're here with a creative director, a brand strategist, and an entrepreneur for over a decade. His name is Bohdan from theqream.com. That's the Qream with a Q, so TheQream.com. And so, Bohdan, I'm not even going to try to say your last name, but can you say it so that way we have it on the recording? Like what is your name and what is your company?
Yeah, it is Bohdan Paladiichuk. It's my full name, and the company is thecream.com. Absolutely. It's actually the Qream. Thecream.com is the website address in case you want to just check out the company itself. But yeah, it's like the cream that you add in your coffee, but with a Q, because we always add the Q part of it, because I
What?
believe that is standing for quality. Yeah, exactly.
I have cream in
Exactly.
my coffee, so it's meant to be.
There you go.
Wonderful. And so, what does the cream do? What is its focus? How does it stand out?
Absolutely. So we actually do branding, we do website design, we do UI UX design and product design. So we're all about the design. I would say primarily we're about the design, but about the creative part as well. So the strategy behind the design, because I believe that design itself is not just about beautiful images, it's actually about delivering the message in the visual way. And that's an absolutely different perspective of looking at it. So this is how we're special, and this is my pull on actually what we're doing day to day.
Wonderful. And there's so a few things to think about there, that there's like these different layers, and ideally the layers work together, right? That it's really easy to be short-sighted and lazy and have this beautiful design, but it doesn't do much, or it's useless, or it doesn't get people to where they need to go. And if we can have something that both looks good but also gets me excited to use it and also gets me to where I want to go, that seems to tick all the boxes. And so as far as this whole like web design and UI UX, what about it excites you the most? Like, are any recent projects you've been working on that you feel like sharing?
Yeah, for sure. So I am the most excited about actually doing lots of different marketing stuff for Viber. You probably have heard this messenger. And I've been using it since I was like very young before I even had the company. So when we had the chance to work with them and we have been successfully working for like 2 years, I've been very pumped. So the thing and the project that gets me like excited a lot, I guess, is recently we designed a presentation for the CEO of Viber. So he was actually performing with beautiful visuals that I was absolutely sure that they're like the best possible and they're actually delivering the message. At the same time, it was also broadcasted on CNN Live in Philippines, I believe. So that got like 10 million people looking at our design. And this is the reason why I actually do it, because given giving people the emotion through the visuals, which I believe the visual is the most like solid sensor that gives you the most information about life and brings up like the most emotions, I believe, in your life. And this is why I'm in design, I guess. I like making people feel things through the eyes. So when a team of 20 people makes 10 million people feel something just for a second, I believe this is worthy. That's why I'm here.
And that is a noble goal. And how do you accomplish that when you say, okay, well, I've got this like marketing campaign, I have to add these visuals, but then sometimes on the surface, the message is kind of just it's just factual, or it's kind of boring, and we have to somehow extract the excitement. And do you ever think about this? Like sometimes we say like, well, here's these bullet points, and how do I just like get the magic out of it? How does that happen?
I guess that's the creativity behind it. And again, taking it like back and thinking about what's the best way to visualize things and putting a lot of like effort into it is always reflected on the surface, I believe. So people, for some reason, always feel the effort invested into things, I believe. And they also feel when the effort has not been invested. So there's a very interesting definition that the ugliness is not the absence of the beauty, it's just carelessness about what you're doing. So I believe this is how things come together in terms of that.
Yes, and I agree that some of these sort of minimalist websites, you think about Google or Amazon or YouTube, there's like very little there, but not because they're lazy, not because they forgot to add like a box or a link. It's just because it makes more sense for those things to be kind of toned down there. So that's interesting to think about, this idea of putting in the effort that shows whether you put that effort in or not. And then, so that as far as you like building and growing your company, what's that been like? Because it's easy enough to say, well, I work on these things and I'm like creative, but there's also this need to pay the bills and market yourself. And for example, what you're doing right now here, right? You're on a podcast, you're getting the word out. So what has that journey been like? Have you struggled? Have you doubted yourself? Had you had to get outside your comfort zone? What has it been like growing your company?
So looking back, I was actually thinking that I always feel myself as the same person at all times for some reason. But when I was thinking about the time where I started my company, I totally understand that I never had this knowledge, I never had this experience, and I was totally a different person myself. So there has been definitely a lot of transformation. There has been a lot of learning about, like, I guess, the people and how to make people work together in order to create the best result, because I believe that's the essence of being the boss, I guess, managing the people and knowing how to make the best effort, collective effort out of the team of the people. So obviously it wasn't easy. It is never easy. There's no elevator to the top. You always have to take the stairs. And I guess that's the essence of anything. But with a business, I believe there's just so much more unknowns because you're usually stepping into the game where you don't know how things work together. So just, I guess, the gut feeling, the reason why you're there, like the clarity of what you want to achieve. And I want to achieve the inspired world. I want every single person on earth to experience this excitement, aha, from looking at the designs that we do. And we're actually, I think, halfway there if I would be counting all the impact that we made throughout all the brands and helping them. So yeah, the journey is never easy, but again, Ed Sheeran said the interesting thing: you never learn something from winning. You always learn something from kind of losing and going through the challenge. And I believe for any human being, even in terms of like longevity, like the plasticity of the brain is like the amount of work your brain is doing, which is overcoming challenges, getting better yourself, always learning, is, I think, is extremely important in life. So I believe entrepreneurship gives me enough of challenges that are very interesting to me. And this is what's like probably the driver that has been there and that is helping me always go through the challenges. And yeah, again, never easy.
And that's an interesting thought process that, in a perfect world, you'd love to have 100% successes, but then you're saying that the side effect that is that you will not build the brain muscle. Like even if you're physically lifting weights, that is hard, that is work, that is kind of like putting your body through a workout. And so we need to put our minds and put our emotions through these workouts, this blend of successes and failures. And then there's that harsh reality when we get to adulthood where we realize that it might even be like 95% failure and 5% success. Like when you're a naive kid, you think, sure, 100% success. And then later on, you're like, oh, maybe it'll be 50-50. But you realize like it's mostly disasters. It's mostly things going wrong. And maybe you can like pivot and turn it into something else, or like long term, it's better, or it's a learning experience, or all those kind of perspectives of looking at it. And so since we're on the subject of like failure and struggle, do you have any sort of fun story from your adventures where like you really struggled, you're really stressed out and failed and came out of it? Like, what comes to mind as far as a story like that?
I guess the first one would be just the first year of how the company was working, and it's a collaborative story of a failure, I would say. I'm actually working with my cousin right now, and I invited him to my business early on. I told him like how he should be working, what he needs to do, but his salary was based off like purely the result. So there was no like general wage, just because it was like a part-time kind of thing. We were just kind of building up. So, that were the conditions. So he was working for the whole year without getting any result, and like again, without getting any money, but he was investing like lots of his time into it. I think this is just like huge, and in the end of the year he managed to close a very big contract that actually gave him the confidence, the boost, and everything else. But even before he did, he said like, we should be cutting the cost and the like expenses that we have for the sales team, so the company has some balance. And he was not even part of the company as like a co-founder, co-owner. He was just like, the sales manager at the time. So I believe like his wiseness to say like, I think the company needs balance, I think we need to rebalance. At the same time, this would mean cutting his own wage. That would mean was like, that was like a very big thing. There was like a very kind of inspirational thing for him to do. And that's how I offered him actually to be a co-owner of the company. And I offered him the part of the company because I understood that with this kind of attitude, we're going to build way bigger things and go much further. So, like quoting Drake, but like give your smart friend a percent and see what happens to your blessings then. I believe that's kind of this story of failing for the whole year, but in the end of the day, getting more than you ever expected. And yeah, not my personal one, but that was the one that I was very personally involved because I was observing and tuning him up, for the whole year. And yeah, that's the most fun one, I believe.
Two different mindsets, right? There's like the employee mindset where you just work as slow as possible and run up the hours. But then there's the entrepreneurial mindset where it's probably way more stressful, where it's more about the results. And so with all these things that you've accomplished, like you've landed some of these big clients and you've gotten all this extra reach, you like accomplished more than a lot of companies have, right? So what do you think you have done that stands out? Like what have you done that you feel like maybe you did something that ended up with like a better result than others? Like just what do you do that maybe others don't do?
I think it lies in the process of it, not in the like end part of it, the bottom part of the iceberg, I believe. So it's about how we do things. And one of the values that we have very strongly in our company that is very related to the name as well is called like adding cream on top. So I always hire people who are excited about adding cream on top, which means like adding cherry on top in the regular world, or I believe you still get what that means. I believe this attitude actually got us where we are because we always try to deliver more than expected, to, kind of put your soul into it. And as I said, people feel it when you invest your like soul into some things, people always feel it. So I think like trying to be the best version of yourself because you like where you are and what you're doing is then in the end of the day cumulatively brings the results that we currently have. So yeah, it's about all these small little things that we always push a little harder than we should have, just because again, I'm initially looking for the people that are very ambitious, that are looking to that they know that they chose to be a designer for a specific reason, not just because they want to exchange the time for money. And this attitude is incorporated in our like corporate culture. I don't even call it corporate culture because it usually is like the top to bottom kind of values spread. No, I think like that is present in every single person in my company. And this is what makes us different. And all the clients that we work with, once you try Qream, you never go back. All the people feel it on every level because we're just so excited to be doing the things we're doing rather than just being business efficient sort of thing. I think that cannot be bought for money. And then the result is also generating way more output than just a raw ROI itself.
Wonderful. So you're saying that what's really important is to seek to be the best version of yourself and to make sure that you take action with enthusiasm and that you look for many of the small areas where you can overperform, and then to seek out other people who are like you, seek out other people who are just as passionate about you. And sometimes people pay lip service to this idea of like hiring a good team and like, finding the right person, but it's really easy to go off track with that and just like fill up the employees, and next thing you know, they're just going through the motions. But it seems like you have this you're paying a lot of attention to hiring people that will really just kind of over deliver. And so this is all very interesting and it's a lot to think about. And so if someone wants to go and seek out the Qream for their design purposes, what exactly is the service and how does someone know if they are a right fit to work with you?
Absolutely. So our services are the branding, which is not just the visual identity, it's actually the brand strategy. So we help brands to acknowledge why they exist and to actually spread their message way better because most of the people are being sloppy in it and just being very generic or trying to copy the competitors, which kind of kills off their special thing that actually people care about. So we help brands find that in terms of branding process. We also do websites because I believe this is like the main storefront of any brand as it is, and it tells the most message about who you are. It gives the functional value to the users. So website is probably one of the biggest things that we do in terms of branding. And we also do, as I said, product design. So I am myself a UX designer in the past, so I really love helping the tech brands, and we're primarily working with SaaS brands, which actually covers the whole thing. So this is the product design, and then the brand itself, and then the website that is kind of the holder of the information, but at the same time, a gateway for the people to buy the product itself. So there's a lot of like thinking and challenge for me intellectually to come up with the best website, because again, it's not just about being beautiful and generic text, it's about uncovering the real value of the product. And when you have the possibility to design the product, the brand, and the website, I think that is the most like kind of delightful thing, because you make it all cohesive experience. And this is the thing that people in the end of the day feel. That's the essence of the brand, right? The emotional associations with the people, with your kind of business, service, or whatever the experience was. So having the most access to building that experience is something that is probably one of the best things that we do. But on the just like regular level, we design beautiful images, we do beautiful videos, video explainers that help also unveil the value. But at the end of the day, it's about helping brands communicate in the way that it actually hooks the users. So who would be the people who would be coming to me and benefiting the most? I believe that these are the people that believe in people's emotional side in purchase. This is very important because marketing usually tackles the numbers, and they are all important, absolutely. But I believe every single person making a purchase decision is a person, and they all have emotions, feelings, and the psychological process of the purchase has to be really acknowledged and addressed in order to make people buy, because that's what you want to do. And the other thing is like what you're selling kind of thing. I really love working with people that are doing the products that are making the world a better place. So it's like sustainability, it's making better food, I believe, making the world healthier, making the world more efficient is absolutely fine. I would be never working with spirits or something that kills people, I believe, like the gambling or something that multiplying that is gonna just bring more destruction to the world, and something that is just not feeling right in terms of progress of humanity and well-being of a person. So if the brand itself is meaningful, they really are bringing the good innovation, they're bringing the good, healthy values to the people, and they want to amplify that so that it relates to more people see them, more people get engaged, there's more conversion in the website, or the product is also like a little bag. Like improving all these metrics and amplifying them is something that we do on the day-to-day basis.
Wonderful. I can tell that you've thought a lot about your life purpose and your company purpose. And so if a company fits the bill, if they are that kind of company that they want to do good in the world and they perhaps want to tap better into the emotion and the psychology, and ideally to get the product and the website and the brand all linked together, then they should be contacting you. And is there a prerequisite as far as like a budget or a company size along those lines?
Primarily, we're not really looking at that, but I would say like the average budget would be around like 25 to 50K. This is just like Oriental budgets, because there would be a lot of like self-starting startups that are very short in budget, like shorter than even that. I believe this is not the best fit, because again, they're usually also concerned about the budget, and usually that takes away all the. We cannot do everything that we can, but if we're starting for like 25 to 50K, it gets us on a good basis level to start doing things. And again, the bigger the budget, like just like the more of the effort we can invest and the cooler thing we can create. And we always have like infinite ideas how to maximize everything. I guess in the world of the infinite budget, infinite time, and infinite resources, the impact can be also like kind of infinite, because I would say like if you would just have a $10 billion to spend on ads, you can show your ad to every single person on earth, and that's kind of it, right? But you always try to balance out the budget that you have and the output that you want to have. So in our case, I would say like starting 25K is something that is kind of comfortable in whatever service it is.
Wonderful. I like the way you think. And so is the next step to go to thecream.com? Is that a logical next step, or is there a better sort of landing page to visit?
No, absolutely. Thecream.com is the best place where you can find us, contact us, see what we're actually doing, and you can experience what is Qream as a brand itself from the very first seconds, because our like hero screen is very, I would say, like appealing and communicating who we are and what kind of way of doing things we also communicate to the world, I believe. Being
Wonderful.
yourself, being authentic, being different. Yeah.
yourself and authentic and different. I love it. And so if you're out there in podcast land, if he has got your curiosity going, you're like, I have to see what this landing page experience is like. I have to go to this website. Go right now to theqream.com. That's theqream.com. And as we wind down our conversation here, Bohdan, do you have a favorite moral lesson or quote, something to really like wrap up our conversation and give somebody something to go home with? What comes to mind? Moral lesson or quote?
Be yourself and amplify it. I think that's the best way to make it in the world.
Wonderful.
As a business, as a person.
And they're very linked, as scary as that is. So be yourself and amplify. And the very next step for that is to go to theqream.com. We will see you there so that way you can get your brand identity dialed in. And thank you very much, Bohdan, for showing up and for blowing our minds, giving us lots of advice. I really appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Robert.